Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Abhinav Nayar, who is the co-founder of Mool, which is a finance platform designed to bring all aspects of your economic life in one place and help you take good actions. Hi Abhinav, welcome to ELI. I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Priyaranjan. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Um, so I'm the founder and CEO of Mool, which, as you said, is a financial platform for the emerging middle class to be good with money. And this is my first venture. I've previously worked as a consultant, as an advisor to a government minister, and as a product manager as well.
Mhm. Okay. Uh, and before we start discussing about the venture, can you take us through your personal journey prior to entrepreneurship, like where you born and brought up? How did your education happen? Any hint of entrepreneurship during your early life, and then how did your career shape up?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Jamshedpur,
Mm.
which is a very nice town in
Right.
Jharkhand.
Yeah.
I went to the same school from kindergarten through the 12th standard. And at the end of that, had the opportunity to attend Yale College on a scholarship,
Mm.
which was a fantastic experience because it's one of the world's best research universities
Right.
that brings together students, from more than 100 countries. And so I had a fantastic undergrad experience studying ethics, politics, and economics.
Mm.
And my parents are doctors by profession. My sister is also a doctor, and so I'm the only patient in the family.
Okay.
And the reason I didn't choose medicine myself was because I found myself interested in the environment in which I saw my parents operate. We spent the earliest years of my life in a fairly small place called Bundu, which is a village or small township on the Ranchi Jamshedpur highway.
Mm.
My parents were, doctors who started their life sort of practicing there, and my operation in the district. And
Okay.
so, I always paid attention to their working environment, which was sometimes quite resource constrained. There
Mhm.
are stories we grew up with about how they would have delivered, say, twins uh, in that setup, and but would have only one bag mask, right? So you
Mm.
try to get one twin to sort of recover, and then you switch, and those kinds of situations got me interested in just, why is it that we have the number of hospitals that we do, what the quality of our hospitals are, how they get funded, what the government's role is in all of this, and then broadly how that relates to different kinds of economic development issues,
Mm.
right? Jharkhand, for example, has the same number of pediatricians per capita as, say, the country of Liberia or Sierra Leone.
Mm.
Um, and I think oftentimes, I mean, India is just such a vast country, right? That we forget these regional disparities, and
Mm.
it's questions like that got me interested in economic development. And so I studied ethics, politics, and economics because for any real world issue that you're trying to evaluate and, say, make a policy on, right? You want to consider the ethical or sort of moral aspects of that issue. You want to consider um, the political systems in which solutions can be brought about,
Mm.
how different stakeholders can engage and interact with one another, as well as what the objective economic analysis and considerations of those trade-offs would be. So I got a fantastic liberal arts training to think about these kinds of problems. And then when I graduated, I started working as a strategy consultant for a firm called Dahlberg Advisors,
Okay.
which is quite unique in that it is a global strategy firm dedicated to working in international development
Mm-hmm.
and on problems that the world faces quite broadly, whether that's energy insecurity, education, and so on. So my first job was a really exciting one because I was living and working in San Francisco, but would frequently travel to more than 10 countries over the course of 2 years,
Mm.
working in Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, working with governments, foundations, and multinational companies that were trying to uh, create access to essential goods and services, right? The kinds of things that make for a better life
Mm-hmm.
through market-based approaches.
Okay.
And that's where I saw a lot of companies use technology and good design to serve these emergent consumer segments, right? People who were coming out of poverty, had real disposable income, could afford certain welfare service, like services that contributed to welfare.
Mm.
Um, and then work with the companies to see how you can do this sustainably with a business model, right?
Okay.
And that was really interesting to me, and made for a great start for my career.
Awesome. I think you were from very early days. You were sure about what you want to do in life. Having said that, can you tell us how did you land up in entrepreneurship, and that too in a fintech world?
Sure. So the journey to entrepreneurship was actually a long one. I wasn't somebody who grew up wanting to be an entrepreneur or felt like I should have a company of my own and try to build that. Um, as I said, I was working as a consultant, and at some point I realized that the skills that I've gained could be well utilized in India. And so I moved back home.
Mm.
And when I was thinking about what to do next, I thought a good way to situate myself and sort of understand what's happening in India at the time. This was 2015, 2016. Um, I basically wrote an email to a member of parliament who was also then the deputy finance minister of the country,
Okay.
and just wrote him a cold email saying, "Sir, I really appreciate what you're doing, and this is who I am and what I've been doing and what I am interested in, and I would love to see if there's an opportunity for me to contribute to your efforts." Right.
Mm.
And he was kind enough to take up that offer and meet with me. And after a couple of discussions, made me a job offer to come work for him as an advisor and assistant.
Okay.
And so I found myself in this interesting situation working for a union government minister in Delhi for about half the month. And I
Mm-hmm.
would spend the rest of the month in his home constituency.
Okay.
It was in my home state of Jharkhand,
Mm.
right? And when I was in the constituency, I would wake up every morning early because there were a whole bunch of people gathered there by as early as 7 a.m.
Mm.
in the morning. People who just lived in the area, had some business with the MP, whether that's trying to get a medical grant for somebody in their family who was not well and needed treatment, whether they were looking for a job, or the other kinds of issues that people
Right.
talk to
Yeah.
their public representative about.
Yeah.
And as I met with people, I realized that we needed a system by which we could take the applications and letters that they were giving us,
Mm.
and turn that into something that the government at different levels, whether the district administration, the state government, or the union government, could respond to, right?
Mm.
So we built a case management system that over the course of a year handles 2 lakh such citizen grievances. That introduced me to the combination of the role of technology as well as good design that is made for Bharat users, and that people can actually interact with, and that can create a good outcome for them in their
Mm,
lives, right?
mm, okay.
And that introduced me to civic technology, and I went on to support Facebook's efforts in civic technology in South and Central Asia.
Mm,
And at this point, I felt my life was going pretty well. And then quite suddenly, my family suffered a terrible bereavement.
oh,
We lost my father to a heart condition, and it happened all quite suddenly in the span of 20 minutes one evening. Um, and that is a difficult thing for anyone to go through, but it's also not uncommon, right? Like a lot of people do lose a parent or find some other kind of shock in their family that they
mm,
have to learn to cope with. And so a couple of days after this happened, we asked ourselves this question of, so what do we do about the money?
mm,
Right? It took us a couple of weeks to just understand, how many bank accounts we had, what investments we had, what insurance policies we had, how we should plan for the future. And in that process, I met, the different agents and distributors who had been providing financial advice to my parents, and worked with them to get a objective view of what our family portfolio looked like.
mm,
Uh, and so, in the process of solving the personal finance problem for my family, I figured that this is a problem that every household in India deals with, right?
yeah.
Where while we're in a country that is so value sensitive, right, that we would try to save 1 rupee when we're buying vegetables,
Mm,
but we can leave our entire net worth sort of unguarded, and not as well cared for. And oftentimes people have to depend on different kinds of financial advisors and distributors who are selling financial products for a commission. um, and these financial products themselves are really hard to understand, right? I
yeah.
mean, just look at what their names are. The Kotak Emerging Equity Blue Chip Mutual Fund Growth Option, right? Does that mean anything to you? I mean, most people would not understand what putting your money in, and what
Right.
you should expect when your distributor comes to you saying that, sir, you should invest in this,
Mm,
right? So I started thinking about that problem a bit more, and realized that finance is such an industrialized sector, right? And it's such a supply-led sector
mm,
that more attention needs to be paid to the demand side of what regular people in India actually need, right?
mm,
In order to be good with money.
yeah.
How can they plan their finances? What types of services should they avail? How can those services be designed in a way that can speak to people's lived experiences and be relatable
Mm,
to the types of problems of life that they're trying to solve for using finance? And with that, we came up with the idea of Mool.
mm,
And Mool just means source, root, or foundation, right?
mm,
It's your Mool is sort of who you are, where you come from, what your origins are. And in it, we hope to build a consumer finance brand, and a digital finance product
mm,
that can help all of India be good with money, regardless of what language they speak, what level of income they are, whether they're living in urban areas or rural areas,
mm.
and make sure that this process of financialization in our modern economy works well for everybody.
Okay. You have quite nicely explained the problem statement, but tell us how you are going to solve it, because it's a very large problem, and I think there are countless number of players who are tried to solve it and failed also. So because it's a big problem for a very big audience. Tell us about it. What is the product about? How does it work? Who are the stakeholders? And if there's a proper mature product, tell us about what are the different modules inside the product.
Sure. So it is a big problem, but it's also a very simple one if you think about it, right? Um, One of the goals that we all share, whether that's individuals, the government, companies in India, is to improve incomes in India, right? Make sure that everybody is doing a little better than their parents did and their parents before them.
Mm,
And if you look at that uh, as a mathematical uh, concept, right,
mm,
then the goal is just to have more money over time relative to the cost of things that you need to buy,
mm,
right? So we all understand that uh, in this concept of inflation,
right.
right, that prices tend to rise. Sometimes they rise very quickly, sometimes they rise slower. And if you want to have more money in real terms,
Mm,
then you have to make sure that your savings, and in India has the largest cohort of the world's largest cohort of new savers,
okay.
right? There are lots of people in India, at least 100 million people, we think,
Mm,
who are the first in their families to have real personal disposable income, right?
mm,
And they aren't able to, and so what they need to do is just make sure that they have more money relative to inflation over the long run, that their money is actually compounding over time.
mm,
So that's the only problem that needs to be solved, right?
okay.
And the way we solve it is by giving people all the tools that they need to go through this natural process of personal finance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether that starts with being able to open a bank account
Okay.
and put money into it,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then move that money into investments that grow over time without a lot of volatility, without a lot of ups and downs, and provide a stable path to growth. That while that's happening, that they're insured and have coverage in case something bad happens to them,
Mm,
and that through this process they're also learning a little bit more about how money works well,
okay.
right? So we have developed tools for each of these aspects of an individual's personal finance journey. So if you download the Mool app of the Play Store on Android or on iOS,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be greeted with an application that allows you to immediately create a bank account without any paperwork, without having to go to the branch, making any wet signatures on paper. And within 5 minutes, you can have a new bank account available to you.
Okay.
You also get a card in the mail. And this is kind of a unique card because it's a debit card that improves your credit score. So
Oh,
as you load money into your account and use it to spend, your credit score starts improving. And we've seen people improve their credit score by 200-300 points over the period of 3 months.
but how does
Right?
it work? Very curious to know. How does it work?
How does the card work?
Yeah.
Um, so the card is basically a credit card, right? But there isn't a credit line on it. There are no loans that you are taking. As you make a payment, we show that you've cleared your credit card bill,
Mm,
right? So there's no, because we deduct the money from your account because your card is sort of linked to your savings account balance. There
okay.
is no opportunity for you to default on your payment, right?
Mm,
So the
got it.
idea is that if you are a thin file customer, somebody who's never availed formal financial services or taken loans from accredited providers,
Mm,
then you can still, start with this account, build your credit score, and in about 2-3 months, as we see a certain transaction pattern, we can start issuing you a small credit line at very low costs relative to other providers, because we have also have an understanding of what your financial life looks like, right?
Mm.
So we can help to make sure that you're not over indebted, that you have some liquidity and float available to you month on month between the times that you get paid,
Mm.
and that you're able to transact and get uh, pay for all the expenses that you have in a month,
Okay.
right? While you're doing this, we also ask you a few short questions about who you are, what your goals are, uh, and try to understand what your risk tolerance might be.
Mm.
And based on that understanding, assign you a customized portfolio made only for you,
Mm.
which is made using different equity and debt and gold mutual funds.
Okay.
So a lot of our customers are first time investors. They're
Mm.
people who want to invest, but they don't know how to get started.
Yeah.
And so we offer them a very simple way to get started, where you get a professionally created portfolio that works for you. It has the right combination of risky assets and safe assets, so that you get an adjusted return, a risk adjusted return for the long term.
Okay.
And so as you're adding, so your only job then is to add money to your account and
Mm.
use it for your expenses,
Mm.
to move your surplus funds and save them in your investment portfolio, and
Mm.
see that growth happen. And as you do that, we also make sure that you're well protected, that your health, life, and property are insured through very affordable sachet insurance products that cost only a few hundred rupees per month.
Mm. Okay.
And that way, that in combination of certain learning modules that we provide within the product, that make it very easy for people to learn about money. A lot of our customers are young people, students who are graduating from college, or
Mm.
who are working in different blue and white collar professions, but nobody has ever sort of sat down with them and sort of had the money conversation, right? This is not something we learn in schools,
Mm.
about what different financial services are and how to use them well. And so these learning modules are very simple and easy to go through, short, pieces of content, and that
Mm.
teach you sort of, how banking works, what to look for, how credit works, how you can use it to your advantage, what investments are, how to evaluate a good insurance plan,
Mm.
and other aspects of financial planning and personal finance that can be useful information for any adult who is who has an economic life, right? So that is the product in a nutshell.
Okay. So the way I see it, it's a one product for the people who are not financially literate, and they can simply just rely upon an app, which is I assume it's AI powered. So one personal assistant which can do everything for you. Just need to follow the suggestions that it is giving to you. Uh, so uh, my next question, how do you make money out of this product? What are the different uh, business verticals that you have, or revenue streams that you have as a business?
Sure. So first, let me address something that you just said, which is, um, I wouldn't say the product is only for people who are, who don't have a lot of financial literacy. One of the things that we pay a lot of attention to is good design,
Hmm.
right? Oftentimes, the process of using financial services can be quite clunky.
Right.
Um, and we try to make sure that through the app people have a great UI UX experience,
Hmm.
um, that and we've done a lot of deep work on this. We've partnered with IDEO and the Gates Foundation.
Okay.
We've developed a strong design team in house, right, which rethinks what a financial app should look like, what information you get when.
Hmm.
While we want to solve a lot of things for you, we also want you to understand what it is that you're committing to, and how your money is being managed,
Okay.
right? So we try to create a product that is really easy to use and has informed consent of the user,
Mm.
and it's really a tool for people to use themselves rather than feel that they have just entrusted somebody else to manage their money for them, right? We want to empower people to manage their money well themselves.
Mm.
So that's a slight distinction from the way that you summarized it. In terms of our business model, it's really clear. We are completely free to use for users.
Mhm.
There are absolutely no fees and charges whatsoever charged to the customer. The
Okay.
account is a zero balance account, which is lifetime free. The card is issued to you for free.
Okay.
And in addition, you have access to advisors and a community at Mool. We run a program called Mool One-to-One,
Mm.
where every Saturday you can just sign up to speak to a Mool advisor.
Mhm.
And any question you have about money is answered free of cost.
Okay.
So the way that we make money is by working in partnership with different financial institutions.
Mm.
Uh, so when you open a bank account with our partner bank, it is our partner bank that compensates us,
Gotcha.
right? When you use the card, the merchant at which you use that card pays a something called a merchant discount rate, an MDR fee, right? And
Mm.
we collect a portion of that in what's called interchange, right? So a very small percentage of your transaction comes to us in the form of revenue.
Mhm.
In addition, when you make investments, then we receive some money from the a mutual fund company that is managing your funds,
Mm.
right? The same works for insurance as well. So we work as a distributor of financial services and are completely free to users.
Okay. Curious to know about, so you have built a huge product. The way I look at it, uh, it has UPI, it has insurance, it has bank account opening, it has mutual fund. So almost everything that you want to do as a individual person, so that can be done on this app, all the financial needs at one place. So can you tell us how did you fund the uh, mm, building part? How the building such a huge application requires a huge amount of money as well. So how did you finance the uh, uh, product building so far till the time you reach the break even, assuming that you are yet to break even?
Yes. So we do have investors, which at this stage are family offices.
Mhm.
The people that that I've known for a long time, that the process of building Mool has also been a process of dialogue with these well-wishers.
Mhm.
And so when I wanted to start this company, I spoke to an old friend about it. He himself, had some assets that he wanted to invest,
Okay.
and that's how we got the company started,
Mhm.
right? And as we grew, we found more investors who liked what we are building, who liked our vision, our quality of execution, the product, and the roadmap that we presented. And that's how we negotiated with them
Mm.
to join us in our mission.
Okay.
And as we move forward, we look forward to working either with venture capital and private equity investors, and or strategic investors, companies who have financial services businesses of their own,
Mhm.
and look at Mool as a source of digital transformation.
Okay. Awesome. uh, Next part I want to cover is on the user acquisition. Tell us about how did we go about finding the users for the application? How did we onboard them? And when you create a B2C application, network effect comes into play. The more people use it, then more people come as a referral, and also, how are you approaching this problem?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really critical problem, right? Because if the cost of acquiring users is too high,
Mm.
um, then your business doesn't work as well,
Yes.
right? This is a business that needs to work at scale on relatively thin margins with a large number of customers. And that, in fact, is the promise of digital transformation and financial services, right?
Mm.
That we can go from an environment where banks invest so much money into building branches and having relationship managers and so much physical infrastructure. The
Mhm.
cost to asset in banking is about 4%, right? Which means that for every lakh rupees worth of deposits that a bank is able to collect, it
Mm.
actually spends about 4,000 rupees, which
Okay.
is really, really expensive if you think about it.
Yeah.
And the theory of digital transformation in financial services is that by using technology and technology-led distribution, you
Mm.
can decrease your cost so much, right,
Mm.
that you can reduce that cost to asset by at least 1 or 2 orders of magnitude.
Mm.
And so the single largest cost for us is customer acquisition. And we're happy to share that for us, that cost is as low as 5 rupees per customer,
Okay. How?
right? So, so the way that we were able to get it so low is by acquiring customers in a few different ways. We run digital marketing programs across social media. We've built a good brand in Mool. We have a nice Instagram and Facebook presence that where people often come to for financial advice as well.
Mhm.
And a lot of our content on these platforms um, is sort of non-promotional, right? It's content that you would want to subscribe to because you will learn something from it or have fun engaging with topics in personal finance. And that's why a lot of users come to us. They
Okay.
also then see ads about the Mool product. And I will tell you that the Mool card, the concept of a debit card that improves your credit score, is one that is really popular because a lot of people are understand the importance of having a good credit score,
Mm.
but are afraid to take out loans, especially if they don't need it.
Okay.
And so we see really good performance on our ads, and we went through a long journey of getting our digital marketing results 10 times more effective today than they were 6 months ago,
Mm.
right? And that was just a process of experimentation and iteration, getting exactly the right content out to the right audience, and finding that fit iteratively over a few months. So as a result of that, we now have a waiting list for the product that has almost 1 lakh members in it.
Okay.
In addition to our digital marketing efforts, we have partnered with a number of colleges
Mm.
uh, where we host personal finance workshops, talking to students about how to be good with money, how to think about investing, how to think about other, tax, insurance, or other types of issues as they start their earning life, right? Um, and those workshops have been really successful. They're often a lot of fun. I frequently dial into them. It's led by one of my colleagues, but we see people, staying on. It's rare when you can see people, especially college students, stay on a webinar for an entire hour and ask lots of good questions. Um, so that takes a lot of work in terms of the content that we create and pull out, and how we're able to create workshops that offer value. And it's one of the ways in which people then learn about Mool and then become users of Mool.
Mm.
In addition, we reach out to many employers, people who, companies that have uh, a few dozen to a few thousand employees,
Okay.
and offer them a employee financial wellness session.
Mm.
So as a benefit to their employees, right?
Okay.
So Every company has employees that have questions on personal finance. Mool partners with them, offers a free session to those employees. They also learn about Mool and become interested because they see that just using Mool can be the solution to all their personal finance woes. Um, and then finally, we've started doing two more channels of acquisition. One is partner with HR tech companies. So there are a lot of companies that provide HR management solutions for different companies, right?
Mm.
And one of the problems that these companies face is, especially with blue collar workers, is that when they onboard them, they have to create a bank account
Mm.
for that worker, right? And
Right.
provide some benefits to that worker as well.
Yeah.
And so Mool becomes a very well integrated solution where with one click, you can actually pass on those KYC details and create a new bank account
Mm.
for the employee.
Right.
Um, the part that I'm most excited about is a nationwide cash deposit network that we've created
Mm.
with more than 500,000 merchants who are now able to deposit money into your Mool account.
Mm.
So these are Kirana stores that we've partnered with through different aggregators. And the experience is as simple as walking up to one of these corner shops in your neighborhood. And just like you would buy bread, you just hand cash over the counter and it's immediately reflected in your bank account. And
Okay.
so these retailers also become an important source of customer acquisition from Mool. And as a result of all this, we're seeing the really low cost of acquisition where for less than the price of sending a letter to somebody,
Mm.
we're able to create a holistic financial service relationship spanning banking, investing, insurance, and soon credit
Yeah.
um, with new Mool users.
Got it. So I just have one more question left because the time is almost up. Um, Last question. Tell us, what is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How would you define the term entrepreneur?
It's a really poignant question you've raised. And I think everybody who tries to build something and be an entrepreneur has their own interpretation of it. Um, I understand entrepreneurship as um, the ability to creatively respond to problems in the world.
Mm.
Um, there are many ways in which the world can be improved. And every time you improve the world slightly, you create some value,
Mm.
right? And so as an entrepreneur, you have to really love to look at different things that are happening. You have to enjoy talking to people and, not just like an interview, right? But really try to get to know people, try to walk in their shoes, understand how they experience life,
Mm.
uh, and what experiences they've had. And then use that information to find a really creative um, change that you can envision, right?
Mm.
And then build a set of interlinkages that allow you to create, a small change that can be a little bigger and then grow from there.
Mm.
Um, it is, I've had a few different jobs over the past 10 years, and this one is by far my favorite.
Okay.
uh, is I just enjoy the prospect of thinking creatively, of working, identifying other people with so much great talent and helping them be their best self and contribute in the best way that they can, and get this whole team to work together to get this team to then understand the problems of other people and how we can solve those issues, and then turn it into a clear product roadmap, an engineering plan, a customer insights process, um, and a product management journey that gradually can reach more and more people. And as they do, to always deal with people with integrity, to be honest and transparent, so that the word Mool starts to mean something to people, and it's some a presence in their lives that brings them some joy.
I think that was a very nicely defined way of defining entrepreneurship. So thanks for your time, Abhinav. It was a pleasure to have you on our platform, and best wishes for Mood.
Thanks so much, Priya Rajan. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.